I never liked parties. Not even when they were mine. The noise, the fake laughter, the pretending, it always felt like standing in a room full of masks. But tonight was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be my night. My name's Anna, I'm 34, and for once I thought I had everything under control. The house smelled like vanilla candles and slow-cooked rosemary chicken. Music drifted through the hall, low, warm, like a heartbeat beneath the chatter of my family. The glasses clinked. Someone was laughing near the kitchen, that bright, empty kind of laughter that hides judgment behind it. And there she was. My sister, Lydia. She stood by the wine rack like she owned the place, tall, graceful, and wearing that same smirk she'd perfected since childhood. The kind that said, "I know something you don't." I tried to ignore her. I tried to focus on the guests, my cousins, my mother, the neighbors who'd come to celebrate what was supposed to be my small victory. I'd just finished renovating this house. My house. The one I'd bought after years of working double shifts as an ER nurse. It wasn't a mansion, but it was mine. Every inch, every memory built with my own hands. But Lydia never could stand it when I had something she didn't. She was the golden one growing up. Our parents' favorite. The straight-A student, the beauty queen, the one who could do no wrong. And me? I was the fixer, the quiet one. The one they called when something was broken. A plate, a promise, a person. I remember when we were kids, she'd break Mom's vase and blame me. And I'd take the punishment because that's what good sisters do. But tonight, I wasn't the quiet one. Lydia raised her glass, her voice slicing through the laughter. "To my dear sister Anna," she said, loud enough for everyone to turn. "For finally making something of herself." The word stung, wrapped in sugar but dipped in poison. Everyone clapped politely, and I forced a smile. "Thanks, Lydia." She took a slow sip of wine, eyes scanning the room like a queen inspecting her kingdom. Then she leaned closer to me and whispered, "Don't get too comfortable, sis. Houses can change hands fast." My stomach twisted. Her tone was teasing, but her eyes weren't. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. She just smiled and turned away, walking toward the kitchen. As the night dragged on, the air grew thicker. Family gatherings always did that. Laughter on the surface, tension underneath. Mom kept refilling glasses. Uncle Paul told the same joke for the 5th time. And I could feel Lydia's presence like static in the room. Everywhere I looked, she was there. Whispering to our aunt, laughing with my ex-boyfriend who'd somehow shown up, making herself the center of attention as always. And yet, something felt off. There was a look in her eyes, something cold, calculated. It was around 9 when she made her move. The music had softened. People were starting to drift toward the living room, plates balanced on laps, wine glasses in hand. I was in the kitchen, rinsing a tray when I heard Lydia's voice, louder than usual. "Honestly," she said, "I don't know how Anna even affords this place." I froze. She was standing near the archway surrounded by 3 of our cousins. "She's always been creative with her money," Lydia added with a bitter laugh. "Remember Dad's inheritance?" I set the tray down, water running over my hands, hot and steady. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was digging into the one thing that still hurt. Dad's inheritance had caused a war in this family, and Lydia had never forgiven me for how it ended. Dad left me the house money, not her. He said I was the one who'd earned stability. Those were his exact words. Lydia, of course, saw it differently. I walked out of the kitchen, heart pounding. "Lydia," I said quietly, "can we not do this here?" She turned to me, feigning innocence. "Oh, come on, Anna, it's just a conversation." "No," I said. "It's not. It's gossip." The cousins looked away, pretending not to listen, but Lydia wasn't done. She stepped closer, lowering her voice just enough that only I could hear. "You think this house makes you better than the rest of us?" she said. "You think Dad loved you more?" I swallowed hard. "Lydia, please." "You always play the victim, Anna. Always." Something inside me snapped. "Get out," I said. The room went silent. Every eye turned toward me. Lydia blinked, surprised for once. "Excuse me?" I said, "Get out." I could feel my hands trembling, my voice breaking under the weight of years of silence. She tilted her head, smirking again. "This is my family's house too," she said. "Or did you forget? You wouldn't even have this place without Dad's money." The words hit like a slap. I felt the heat rush to my face. Embarrassment, anger, grief all tangled together. I took a slow breath. "This is my home," I said. "Dad wanted me to have it. You don't get to come in here and tear me down in front of everyone." But she only laughed. "Oh, Anna, always so dramatic." Then she turned and said it. The line that would change everything. "If you can't handle family being honest with you, maybe you shouldn't be hosting parties in our house." The word "our" hung in the air like smoke. And then she said it louder. "You know what? Maybe you should just leave. You're clearly not cut out for this," the crowd murmured. Someone gasped. And suddenly it wasn't Lydia's voice echoing in my ears. It was everyone's. "Calm down. Anna. She didn't mean it like that. You're overreacting." I'd heard those words my whole life. I felt my chest tighten as the world around me blurred. My mother's disapproving glance. My aunt was whispering something behind her hand. My cousins are pretending to scroll on their phones, and Lydia, standing there, smiling. Victorious. Something in me went still. Cold. Steady. I straightened my back and spoke clearly. "You're right, Lydia." Her smile widened. "Oh, I know I am." I looked her dead in the eye. "I should leave this party. But not because I'm weak. Because I'm done pretending this family is anything but toxic." The room fell silent again. Even the music stopped. Or maybe it just felt that way. I turned, walked down the hallway, and stepped outside. The night air hit me like a wave. I could hear my own heartbeat. Feel the weight of years pressing on my chest. She thought she'd won. She thought I'd run away like before, but she didn't see what was coming. The night air was colder than I remembered. The sound of laughter still floated through the open window behind me, muffled now, like it belonged to another world. A world I didn't fit into anymore. I stood in my backyard, arms wrapped around myself, staring at the string lights swaying in the wind. They looked fragile, like one strong gust could make them fall, just like my family. I thought I'd feel free walking out of that room, but I didn't. I felt hollow. The door creaked behind me. Anna. It was my mother. Her voice was soft, but not kind. Never kind. She stepped outside, holding a shawl around her shoulders, her perfume strong enough to drown the night air. "You embarrassed yourself in there," she said flatly. I didn't look at her. "She embarrassed me first," Mom sighed, long and heavy. "Your sister was just teasing. You know how Lydia is." Yeah, I knew exactly how Lydia was. "She humiliated me in front of everyone, Mom," I said. "She told me to get out of my own house. She didn't mean it." I turned to her then. "You always say that. Every time she crosses the line, you defend her." Mom's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp now. "She's your sister, Anna. Family comes first. You should apologize." I felt something twist inside me, an old familiar ache. There it was again. The invisible hierarchy. Lydia's on her pedestal, me at the bottom. Apologize? For what? I asked. "For losing your temper," she said. "For making a scene." I took a slow breath, forcing down the anger that was clawing at my throat. "Mom," I whispered, "she's been pushing me my whole life. She wants to see me break. And you let her." "She's your blood, Anna," Mom said coldly. "Don't forget that." And then she turned and went back inside, just like that. Conversation over. Problem ignored. I stayed outside long after everyone left. The laughter faded, the music stopped, and the house grew silent. All that was left was me, standing on the patio, the smell of burnt candles and spilled wine hanging in the air. I finally went back inside. The floor was sticky, glasses half empty, a few plates scattered on the counter. I could still hear Lydia's voice in my head. "You think you're better than us. You wouldn't have this place without Dad's money. Maybe that's what she really hated. Not the house, but what it stood for. Freedom. I'd built something on my own. And she couldn't stand that. I went to the hallway mirror and stared at my reflection. My mascara had smudged. My hair was coming undone. I looked tired, not from the party, but from years of trying to be the peacekeeper. I'd always told myself Lidthadia would change. That one day, she'd grow up, let go of the jealousy, and just be my sister again, but she never did. She only got smarter, sharper, and something told me tonight wasn't just about insults. It was about power. The next morning, I woke to silence. No texts. No apologies. Just the faint ache behind my eyes and the emptiness of a house that suddenly felt too big. I brewed coffee, staring out the window as sunlight touched the mess left from last night. Wine stains on the tablecloth. A broken glass near the sink. It all felt symbolic, like my family had left their mark on me again. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Lydia, just one line. "Hope you cleaned up your little tantrum." I stared at the screen for a long time, the smiley face mocking me. Then something caught my eye, a second message. This one wasn't from her. It was from my bank, a notification. Mortgage auto payment failed due to insufficient funds. My chest went cold. What? I opened my banking app, and my blood ran cold. My savings account had been emptied. Completely. I sat down hard, staring at the numbers, my pulse racing. I checked again. Transactions I didn't recognize. Transfers I hadn't made, and then I saw it. A transfer to an account name I did recognize. L. Weston. Lydia. No, it couldn't be. I picked up the phone, called the bank, my voice trembling as I explained everything. The rep confirmed it. The account was linked to my father's old estate funds, ones Lydia still had limited access to after his death. How is that possible? I asked. Those funds were separate. I'm not sure, ma'am, the woman said. It appears there was a joint authorization years ago. Your sister's name was on one of the linked accounts. Years ago, before I moved out. Before Dad died. When Lydia convinced me to let her handle the estate paperwork because I was too emotional. Of course. The phone slipped from my hand. The anger that followed wasn't loud. It was quiet, deep and precise. Like a blade sliding into place, she'd humiliated me at the party. And now, she'd stolen from me. It wasn't just about jealousy anymore. This was war. That evening, I drove to Mom's house. Lydia's car was in the driveway. Of course it was. I walked up the porch steps, my pulse steady now. Not racing, not shaking. Steady. The front door was unlocked. Inside, I could hear them laughing in the kitchen, just like old times. Mom and Lydia, perfect harmony. I stood there for a moment, listening, letting the sound burn into me. Then I stepped forward. Funny, I said, walking into the light. You two always seem to find something to laugh about after you ruin my life. The laughter died. Lydia turned, eyes flashing. Anna, to what do we owe the pleasure? I know what you did, I said. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, you'll have to be more specific. I took a step closer. You emptied my savings. Her smirk didn't even falter. Your name was still on a joint account from the estate. I just moved some money around. Nothing illegal. You stole from me. It was Dad's money, she said sharply. We both had access. I could hear my mother sigh behind her, muttering something like, "Not this again." You didn't just take money, Lydia. You took everything I've worked for. You wanted me humiliated. And you got it, she smiled. Well, maybe you shouldn't make it so easy. That was the moment I stopped seeing her as my sister and started seeing her as my enemy. I left without another word. The drive home was a blur, streetlights flashing past, my hands gripping the wheel, my jaw tight. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just kept replaying her words. Maybe you shouldn't make it so easy. She thought I was weak. She always had, but weakness can be a weapon too, if you know how to use it. When I got home, I opened the box I hadn't touched in years. Dad's files, his will, everything Lydia had helped me organize. I laid them out on the table, one by one, and that's when I found it. A copy of the property deed. My house, but there was something off. A note in the corner, a signature I didn't recognize. Not Dad's, not mine. Lydia's, next to a line that said, "Temporary co-ownership transfer." My heart sank. She hadn't just taken money. She'd planned this. She'd been setting me up for years. That's when it hit me. The party wasn't random. The jabs, the public humiliation, it was all part of her plan. She wanted to push me out. Take the house. Erase me piece by piece until I was nothing but a story she told at parties. But not this time. I wasn't the same girl who stayed quiet. I wasn't the one who took the blame to keep the peace. No, this time Lydia Weston had picked the wrong sister. After I found Lydia's forged signature, something inside me clicked into place. The fear, the guilt, the confusion, gone. All that was left was focus. I spent the next morning sitting at my dining table, papers spread out like battle plans. Dad's will. The property deed. The estate records Lydia had helped file years ago. The deeper I looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment betrayal. She'd been planning this since the day Dad died. And the worst part? She thought I'd never notice. I needed help. But not from family. Not anymore, so I called someone else. Detective Avery Jones, private investigator. A calm voice answered. "Hi, Avery. My name's Anna Weston. I think my sister forged a legal document." There was a pause, then a quiet sigh. "Tell me everything." We met that afternoon at a small cafe downtown. Avery was older, maybe mid-40s, with eyes that had seen too much and a voice that never flinched. He listened carefully as I laid out the documents, each one shaking slightly in my hands. When I finished, he leaned back, nodding slowly. "Your sister forged your father's signature," he said finally. She must have had access to his records, old digital files, maybe scanned copies. Happens more often than you'd think. I swallowed hard. "Can you prove it?" He smiled faintly. "That's my job." For the next week, I watched Avery work like a surgeon. Emails, bank trails, digital timestamps. Every night he'd call me with updates. And each one made my stomach drop a little further. Lydia had been siphoning money from our father's estate since the beginning. Small amounts at first, just enough to stay unnoticed. But after Dad died, she got bolder. A false consultancy under Dad's company name. Fake expenses. A shell account, all routed to her. And the worst part? The co-ownership transfer of my house had been notarized by one of her old college friends. It was all there, evidence, paper trails, lies. She'd built her life on my father's ghost. A week later, I got another message from Lydia. "Hope you're enjoying our house, sis. Don't worry, I'll make sure it's well taken care of when you're gone." I stared at that little winking emoji for a long time. Not anger this time. Not even hurt, just resolve. She wanted a war. She'd get one. The next step wasn't rage. It was patience. I started small. Subtle. I smiled when she called. I answered her text politely. I even invited her to lunch, something I hadn't done in years. She hesitated, of course. But her ego couldn't resist. "Lunch? You're finally ready to talk like an adult," she wrote. "Yes," I replied. And I meant it, just not in the way she thought. We met at a quiet restaurant overlooking the river. Lydia arrived late. As always, designer dress, phone glued to her hand, that same smug expression that made my blood simmer. "Well," she said, sitting down, "I didn't expect you to reach out. People change," I said. She laughed. "You? Change? Don't make me laugh," I smiled. "You've always underestimated me, Lydia. That's your weakness." Her smirk faltered, just slightly. But then she leaned forward, all charm again. "What is this, Anna? Another pity party? You want me to apologize?" I shook my head. "No, I want you to tell me why." Her brow furrowed. "Why what? Why do you hate me so much?" She didn't answer right away. For a second, I saw something real. A flicker of guilt or maybe pain. Then it vanished. "You always got what I wanted," she said simply. Dad's attention, his approval, the money, the sympathy, everything. "I never asked for any of that," I said. "But you got it anyway," she snapped. "And now you're sitting in the house I should have had." There it was. The truth. The ugly, naked truth. When she finished her drink, I smiled and said, "Thanks for meeting me. Is that it?" "For now," I said. "Enjoy your afternoon." And as I walked away, I could feel her confusion burning into my back. That was good. Let her wonder. That night, I met Avery again. He'd found something new. "Your sister's in debt," he said. Bad debt. Credit cards, luxury purchases, a failing boutique business she's been trying to keep alive. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were screenshots, invoices, and even emails. "She's desperate," Avery said. "That's why she came after you. You're her safety net." I sat back, staring at the papers. Everything made sense now. She didn't just want to hurt me. She needed me gone, so she could sell the house. Something inside me turned cold. If she wanted a game of manipulation, I'd give her one. But this time I'd play it better. I started planting seeds. A call to the bank to flag suspicious activity. A quiet report to the estate lawyer about inconsistencies. And one final move, the one that would ruin her. I contacted the boutique investor Lydia had lied to, a man named Charles Renner. He'd put 50 grand into her business expecting profit. He never saw a dime. We met in his office. I showed him the proof. The forged documents, the transfers, the fake invoices. He sat in silence, jaw tight. Then he said, "She's going to regret this." I smiled. "She already does." For the next 2 weeks, everything unfolded like dominoes. The boutique's accounts were frozen. The investor filed a fraud claim. The bank began an internal audit of the estate, and Lydia, the untouchable, perfect sister, started to crumble. Her texts turned frantic. "Anna, did you talk to the bank? They're saying the estate is under investigation." "What's happening? We need to fix this now." I didn't respond. Not yet. I wanted her to feel it, that slow, creeping panic. The way I had felt when she took everything from me. 3 days later, she showed up at my door, disheveled, eyes red, voice trembling. "Anna, we need to talk." I leaned on the doorway, arms crossed. "About what?" "You know damn well what," she snapped. "The bank froze my accounts. They're saying something about forged signatures and fraud." I tilted my head. "Sounds serious," she glared at me. "Don't play dumb. You did this." "I didn't forge Dad's signature." She froze. And for the first time in years, she didn't have an answer. The silence stretched between us, long, brittle, final. Then she whispered, "You're going to regret this." I smiled. "Maybe, but not as much as you," and I closed the door. Behind it, I could hear her crying. Not loud, but raw, like a child who'd finally realized the game was over. That night, I sat on the floor of my living room, surrounded by old photos, me and Lydia as kids, laughing in the backyard, Dad watching us from the porch. I wanted to hate her completely, but I couldn't. Not yet. Because part of me still remembered the sister who used to braid my hair. The one who held my hand during storms, but that sister was gone. Buried under greed, pride, and jealousy, and the woman left behind? She'd made her choice. I poured myself a glass of wine and looked around my house. My house. Every wall, every corner, every scar of the past week had meaning now. Lydia thought she'd destroyed me. But all she did was rebuild me. Stronger, smarter, colder. And as the night settled in, I whispered to the empty room, "This isn't over yet." Revenge has its own rhythm. It doesn't rush. It builds, slow, deliberate, until the final note lands exactly where it's meant to. For days, I waited, watched, listened. The silence from Lydia was deafening at first. Then came the calls. Desperate, furious, pleading. I didn't answer. Every voicemail sounded the same. Anna, please. We can fix this. You don't understand what you've done. I'll pay you back. I swear. It was strange hearing her like that. Small, afraid, human. But I couldn't afford sympathy. Not now, Avery kept me updated. She's spiraling, he said over the phone. Her accounts are under investigation. The investor filed a lawsuit. The police are looking into the forged signatures. It's only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. Those words should have felt satisfying. But instead, they felt heavy. I'd gotten what I wanted. Or at least what I thought I wanted. But there was still one thing left unfinished. My house, technically, the deed was still under review because of her fake signature. Until it was cleared, I wasn't fully protected, and Lydia knew it. It was Friday night when I saw her again. The doorbell rang just past midnight. I froze. The porch light illuminated her silhouette, hair tangled, mascara smeared, hands shaking. I opened the door a few inches. "What do you want, Lydia?" Her voice cracked. "I need to talk to you, please." For a moment, I saw a glimpse of my sister again. The one who used to cry when she broke something and beg me to fix it. But then she looked up, and I saw something darker in her eyes. Desperation, fear, maybe even hatred. I hesitated, then stepped aside. 5 minutes. She came in pacing the floor like a trapped animal. "You set me up," she spat. "You think you're clever? You think you've won?" I leaned against the counter, calm. "I didn't set you up, Lydia. You did that yourself. You talked to the bank, didn't you? And that investigator? Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Yes," I said simply. She laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "You've ruined me, Anna. My business, my reputation, everything." "Welcome to my world." Her eyes snapped to mine, wide and furious. "You think this makes us even?" she hissed. "You think I'll just disappear?" "I think," I said quietly, "you should leave before you make things worse." But Lydia didn't move. She looked around the house instead, her gaze lingering on the family photos, the furniture, the space she once tried to claim. Then she whispered, "Dad would have hated this." My chest tightened. "Don't you dare bring him into this." "He loved me more," she said bitterly. "You know he did." "No," I said. "He pitied you." "There's a difference." Her face twisted. And before I could react, she shoved a pile of papers off the counter. They scattered across the floor like snow. "You think you're better than me?" She screamed. "You've always thought that." "I never thought I was better," I said. "I just stopped letting you destroy me." For a second, she froze, chest heaving, eyes full of hate. Then something in her snapped. She lunged forward, grabbing my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. I stumbled backward, slamming into the edge of the counter. "Lydia, stop!" I shouted, but she didn't. Her voice was a low snarl. "You're not taking this from me. You're not taking him from me again." And that's when I realized this wasn't about the house. It never was. It was about Dad, about the ghost she couldn't stop chasing. She'd rather burn everything down than admit she'd lost. I broke free, backing toward the door. "Get out, Lydia!" She stood there, shaking, tears streaking her face. For a moment, she looked lost. Then she whispered, "You'll regret this." And she was gone. The front door slammed behind her. The next morning, I found the damage. A window in the living room, cracked. A photo of Dad and me, shattered on the floor. I sat there for hours, staring at it. I should have been angry. But all I felt was tired, because the truth is, revenge doesn't heal you. It just reveals who's still bleeding. Later that week, Avery called again. "They wrapped the case," he said. "The bank confirmed the forgeries. The estate lawyer cleared your deed. The house is officially yours." I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. "Thank you," he hesitated. "You know she's not doing well, right? The lawsuit, the debts, the fraud charges. She's cornered." I nodded. "She made her bed. Still," he said quietly, "be careful. Desperate people do desperate things." He was right, because 2 days later, I got another message. No text this time. A voicemail, Lydia's voice. You think you've won, but this isn't over. You've taken everything from me, so I'll take something from you. Then silence. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house made me jump. Every shadow looked like her. I checked the locks 3 times, turned on every light, and still. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was near. At 3 a.m. I heard it, a noise outside, a crunch of gravel. I moved quietly toward the window. And there she was, standing in the driveway, staring up at my house. Her eyes found me through the glass. And she smiled. Then she turned and disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, I went to the police. They said they'd look into it. But without proof, there wasn't much they could do. So I did what I'd learned to do best. I prepared security cameras, locks, motion sensors. If Lydia wanted a war, I'd meet her on my own terms. And for the next week, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Until one night, the cameras caught her again. She wasn't alone this time. She had someone with her, a man I didn't recognize. They circled the property, whispering, pointing toward the back door. My heart pounded as I watched the live feed. I called the police again, voice shaking. By the time they arrived, she was gone. But she'd left something behind, a photo, pinned to the door with a knife. It was a picture of us as kids, arms around each other, smiling. And on the back, she'd written in red ink, "If I can't have it, no one can." That was the last line. The one that ended any trace of sympathy I had left, because I realized Lydia didn't just want revenge. She wanted destruction. So I called Avery again. And together, we built a trap. We traced her debts, her movements, her new business partner. Turns out, the man she was with was one of her creditors, someone she owed money to. And she'd promised him a payout, from my house. She was planning to forge a full transfer document and sell it, fast, before the investigation closed. The night she tried, I was ready. The moment she set foot on my property, the cameras alerted me. The police were already waiting nearby, thanks to Avery's report. I watched from the upstairs window as flashing lights filled the driveway. Lydia froze, papers clutched in her hand, the man beside her shouting. For a second, I almost went outside. Almost told her to stop, but I didn't. Because this was her choice. They cuffed her quietly, reading her rights as she stared up at my house. Her expression wasn't angry anymore. It was disbelief. Like she couldn't understand how her game had finally ended. When they drove her away, I sat on the stairs, my hands trembling. It was over. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like silence. The kind of silence that follows after a storm, when everything's broken. But at least the noise is gone. I didn't cry that night. I just sat there watching the lights fade down the road, whispering to no one. You brought this on yourself, Lydia. And for the first time in years, I believed it.